times an hour?
It's 3.
An hour.
Yeah.
I'll give you an hour of interview.
Yeah, that'd be great.
A whole hour.
That would be fantastic. I think that'll bring us up to, if I added all the times I've talked to you now, I think we're up to about a full day, 24 hours.
We're almost ready for each other. Hold on, wait a minute.
Take it. Do you want some water or what?
Hey,
would you like?
Scott,
Oh yeah.
would you please get me another half of those little jelly bean things?
I would love to. I'm gonna get you water right here in case you get thirsty. I'll be
Okay.
right back. Any
Just a
particular
little
color?
half,
Any
the
particular
one,
color?
the one in the big one. No, no my particular color.
Just
No.
joking. Just joking.
David. One of the times you
Are we on yet?
No, not yet, not yet. But one of the times you came, Brian, we went over to, I was at WNEW-FM, and there was an AM station there that Steve Allen used to work at.
Right.
And they had a piano there for him. And we brought you over there to illustrate how you had done some things at the keyboard.
Oh,
and
good.
If we can recreate some of that today, it would be amazing.
Okay, I think we can do something like that.
And at the very beginning, Brian, I'm going to do my introduction, and if you're up for it, if you could do a little bit of Beautiful Dreamer like you do in the show.
I will.
That'll lead us into the story about...
Wow.
Now, actually, while they're setting up, I want to show you some of my... I brought some things from my archives today.
Uh-oh. Do you know that my first job in media out of school
That's enough, that's enough.
was
No,
at
that's too much. Take
it was
some
at
of that.
WNEW-FM radio.
Okay, three or four, one more.
Pete was-
That's enough for me.
was,
Right there,
you
right
know,
there.
main midday personality there. And my first day was on a Saturday, I worked the weekends. And it was 3 days after
This
Brian
is still my favorite
had done
picture.
an interview.
Right.
Really? How funny.
Well, this has been around. This I took out of the frame that I have it in at home. Frame today. But in 1967, when that other album came out, not the one I was looking for
Right.
and waiting for, but the day it arrived at the radio station where I was working at then, and I'm working at again now, this picture was taken.
Are you smiling?
That's me smiling, and if we can get one later, that's going to be our photo op.
Oh, that's great.
Do you believe that?
I believe it. You look like a bebop cat there.
Hey, that's, those are my Buddy Holly glasses.
And you call that a smile? You call that a smile?
It's more like a grimace.
It's more of a grimace, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
You trying to get our rocks off or something? Somebody fooling with our rocks?
Well, you know what? If we have some time at the end,
We can do it on your regular show, too.
well, I'm going to do 2 giveaways of the DVD. One on Brian's birthday. 6 of them for pledge period. How close are we, Joe? We're good? You want to start rolling? Because I think we should get every minute that we have, okay? Is everybody ready? Okay, everybody where they're supposed to be, and,
Except Bracken.
oh, he's gonna be late. He said he's gonna be at about 4, so Joe will be here. So Brian, I'm just gonna do an introduction, and if you would do a little bit of Beautiful Dreamer, we'll pick it
Right.
up from there. Stand by.
Start like a beautiful dreamer.
Yeah,
Sing.
yeah, sure, if you don't
I
mind.
have a few couple lines of it.
Yeah, that's all, just to set
Let me know when you're rolling.
set the tone. Let me put my intro on it first, okay? Here we go. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mixed Bag Radio. This is Pete Fornatale at the Gibson Baldwin Showroom in New York City, and it is my great pleasure to welcome today a man whose music I've loved for over 40 years now, and who I've been talking to on the radio since 1973, Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson. Beautiful dreamer, wake unto me. Starlight and dewdrops are waiting for me. Yeah, that was it.
Just like the opening of the.
Beautiful Dreamer documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's the greatest documentary ever produced.
You know, I know that we're both impartial about this, but I agree with you.
Yeah, this is really happening to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've seen everything done about you, Brian. The biography 2-hour show, the legend of a band, whatever any of them
Right.
were called. This is the best thing I've ever seen about you.
I've never seen anything better either about me.
And I think there's a person in the room with us who's probably more responsible for that than anyone. Don't you agree?
Mr. David Loaf, actually David Leaf. Mr. David Leaf is here.
David Leaf is the producer of the Beautiful Dreamer documentary, and kudos to you, my friend, for a terrific job.
Thank you. As you know, Pete, we've known each other for a long time, and it was a complete labor of love because finally there was a happy ending to the Smile story. So for me to be the person who Brian, it was really a privilege that Brian let me be the one to bring it to the screen. And it was really, our cameras were witnessing a miracle as it happened. It was so exciting and an emotional roller coaster every step of the way, but it was worth every moment.
Very worth it. I'd take it even further than a happy ending. I'd call it a triumphant ending.
Yes, I agree with you
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
I think the thing that surprised me the most, there were 3 other producers on the project with me, and I wrote and directed the film. We went into it making a film, a documentary about the most famous unreleased album of all time. What we didn't expect to come away with was a movie that was about the triumph of the human spirit. And I think that's what's most exciting is that what this shows it is if you believe, if you have enough faith that anything is possible, doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how scarred you might be, what damage may have occurred to you in life, if you are willing to put it all on the line, great things can happen.
And that is the story of Brian Wilson, isn't it? Beautiful Dreamer. How did you pick that as the title? guys?
I played it for David. You know, he said, play something. He said, fool around on the piano. And I played it with Beautiful Dreamer, and sure enough, he liked it. And he said, well, we'll use it. We'll use it for the documentary.
Brian, do you know the expression, it's the phrase, snatching victory from the jaws of defeat? Have you ever heard that expression?
No, I haven't.
It sort of means that something that looks like it's going to go down in flames in defeat at the last second by some miracle or by some redemption becomes a huge victory. That's what a lot of us feel that the Smile Project has been for you. Is that what you feel about it?
Yeah, I think it was a victory over fear and a victory over boredom, because I was sitting around not doing that much, you know, and me and my wife decided it was time for me to get off my chair, out of my chair, and do some work, some solo work. So we had a little bit of work to do.
I've told you this once before, but using the title of one of the songs
Yeah.
from Smile, there have been many heroes in your life and many villains
Right.
in your life. David has certainly been a hero.
Right.
Melinda, your wife,
Is a hero.
is a hero.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about her.
Well, she's a sweet gal, about 58 years old, blonde hair, 5'9". She used to model, and she's just a great influence on my life.
Do you think that if there was one person who got you back out into the public
Yes.
eye performing, would she be that person?
Her and I believe David, my friend David, would be the two that got me out of my chair. Yeah.
David, I know you're an East Coast guy who sort of went to the West Coast because of Brian, but I don't remember how the two of you first crossed paths. Would you remind me?
I moved to California with a specific goal. In my youthful days, I wanted to be an Edward R. Murrow type journalist. And when I read about Brian as a 19-year-old, I said, you know what? I got to move to California and write a book about Brian. And with the arrogance of youth, I moved to California. And I was there about a year and not having any great success in my career. And I decided to start what was called a fanzine called Pet Sounds that would be devoted to Brian Wilson and the music of the Beach Boys. And so after I'd been in California a little over a year, I met Brian after a concert at the Forum in Los Angeles, and told him a little bit about myself, and he wasn't particularly interested. But I was persistent, and I got to know him a little bit, and got to know his friends, more importantly. And they decided that my motives seemed good, and they helped me write a book which came out in the late 70s, The Beach Boys.
The Beach Boys and the California Myth. I know one of the guys who did one of the blurbs on the back cover for it.
Yes, I believe it was Pete Fornatale.
Yeah.
Book still available? Because that's another way of people to fill in some of the...
Book's been out of print for close to 20 years. It's available on eBay for a lot of money. But I think in terms of, when I wrote the story then, I wrote it on faith, not experience. And the work I've done with Brian in the last 15 years has been based on what really I've witnessed firsthand. So I think that the two pieces that I produced that I'm most proud of that are available on DVD are, of course, Brian Wilson Presents Smile, which just came out 2 weeks ago, and the All-Star tribute we did at Radio City back in 2001 with Paul Simon, Billy Joel, and Elton John, and George Martin, and a whole cast of amazing people.
Brian, when these people at that tribute and in this documentary sing your praises, how does it make you feel? When George Martin is
Or
talking,
tells me I'm a genius or things like that.
stuff like that, yeah.
I get off. I'm jealous of people and people are jealous of me. I'm jealous of Elton John and Elton John jealous of me. And that's just how it's gonna be.
Maybe that's the way it has to be.
That's the way it has to be, yes,
You know?
yes.
Just to put some perspective
Yes.
on the documentary, I just want to bring you back, not to the badness of it,
Right.
but to what was going on when you originally got the idea for Smile. Now, my recollections, see if you agree or not, is that you had a lot of pressures and challenges
Right.
on you at the time.
Right.
One was, how do you top Pet Sounds?
Yeah, that was impossible to do. Very impossible. There's no way to top Pet Sounds, but you can do something different than Pet Sounds, you know? So Smile was just different. It wasn't any better than Pet Sounds. It was just a much more jovial, uplifting album than Pet Sounds.
Right. Another pressure was from the record company who was
Right,
looking-
Capitol Records, right. They said, no, we want some more surf song. I said, no, I'm doing something completely different. I played them a few of the tapes, and they go, we don't like that at all. Junk it, you know. I said, no, we're going to finish it. So we finished up the first 2 movements. Then we put it on the shelf for 38 years. For
Simple as
38
that.
years.
That's it. That's the story. Thanks for being with us, Brian. on
Okay.
No, don't move. Don't move at all. Another thing was some sense, as you just mentioned, of competition with the Beatles.
Yes, friendly competition.
Friendly competition, but which album of theirs was the one that turned you around?
Rubber Soul, I believe, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, Rubber Soul.
Do you remember specific songs from it that?
I just, a girl, and isn't it good, Norwegian Wood? The song like that. Michelle, my belle. This is a beautiful album. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with Rubber Soul.
Okay. The last one, and this might be the most sensitive one, was misunderstandings and differences of opinion from the other members of the group.
Well, Mike and Dennis didn't like it. Carl liked it. Al didn't know, you know. So I just went ahead with Van Dyke Parks and finished up the album.
Uh-huh. They gave you a hard time about it.
They sure
though.
did. They did. The record company and the boys gave me a rough time.
That had to hurt, yes?
It hurt a little, but it wasn't. I didn't really care because I was so into the music that it didn't hurt my feelings.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It became such a legend, particularly when, after everyone's expectations of it, a very watered-down album came out called Smiley Smile.
Right.
And that really also marked your disappearance from active participation in the group for a while.
Right.
yes?
Yes.
The documentary almost jumps from that period to your comeback to performing in the mid-90s and then what we referred to earlier as the triumph of Smile. Were you involved, were you engaged in any of those records that happened after Pet Sounds that the Beach Boys put out?
Yes.
Which ones do you feel you made a contribution to that were worthy
Of the albums?
of Brian Wilson, songs or albums?
I would say have to say Surfer Girl, Surfing USA. And
Well,
With-
those were before. Well, here's what I'm talking about, Brian. I'm
Oh.
talking about After Smiley Smile. There was Friends.
Wild Honey,
there was
Friends.
Wild Honey. There was Friends.
right.
Then there was the very slow comeback in the 70s, the Sunflower album in
Right.
70,
Yes.
Surf's Up finally
Right.
in 71.
Yeah.
Did you feel actively involved in those projects?
I didn't really feel involved because I felt a little bit insecure.
Mhm.
But I managed to squeeze out a few of those albums
Mhm.
over a period of time.
And there are moments of sheer Brian Wilson brilliance on many of them. On Surf's Up, the one that comes to mind is the one you referred to in the documentary
Yeah.
called Till I Die.
Yes.
Tell me about that song.
Till I Die?
Yeah.
Till I Die was inspired by, I was sitting, I had taken some hashish. You've heard of hashish?
Oh, I have.
And I
yeah.
was in a sensitive kind of mood, right? And I started thinking about how small it was in the overall scheme of things. So I just went to the piano and said, I'm a cork on the ocean, rolling over a raging sea. I'm a wind on a leafy day. Pretty soon I'll be blown away. Just like, hey, I'm very insignificant and small. So I made that. Till I Die was born out of that kind of thing.
Okay. Brian, this is perhaps the most serious and important question
All
that
right.
I'm going to ask
Shoot.
you today.
Shoot.
Okay?
Shoot.
Tell me the name of your favorite vegetable.
My favorite vegetable is squash.
Now,
Really?
you-
I'm sorry, broccoli. Excuse me, broccoli. I like broccoli, and I like Bela Lugosi, and I like what's that guy? Who's that guy? I can't remember his name. Boris
Boris
Karloff. Yeah.
Karloff.
I like Boris Karloff.
Ah, yes. Ah, yes.
And I love the albums, the albums that I did. Yeah.
You know why I asked you about the vegetable, of course.
Yeah, of course. We did a song called Vegetables.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we mentioned Toss Me a Carrot in there.
right.
Won't you toss me a carrot? But
Mhm.
I like broccoli. Yeah.
And you also say, you'll feel better, you'll feel better when you tell
You
me
send
the
us in our
name-
letter.
Send us in a letter the name of your favorite vegetable. Are people still now with the DVD and the album, are they sending you the names of their favorite vegetable?
No, they're not actually. We haven't been having much luck with that one.
Oh my, we'll start a campaign right here,
All
right
right.
now.
Okay.
Just don't send vegetables.
No, don't do that.
No, please don't.
Stay away from vegetables. That's the killer.
Please don't do that. I'm going to make one last comment about the documentary. As I said earlier, I've seen everything done on you, and the difference with this one is that it's told by an insider. It's told every one of the talking heads in the documentary is the right one to be telling their part of the story. The cast of characters is extraordinary. But I think over and above anything else, the main ingredient of this program is that it was done with love
Yes.
and affection.
Love and affection is what got us to get those.
Yeah,
Love and affection.
and well deserved.
Well, thank you.
As I said, I'm supposed to at times take on this objective journalism point of view. I just can't do that with you
Right.
or your music. There's a whole bunch of stuff I'm going to ask you. I just last night sat down and said, what are things that I haven't asked Brian about
Well, go ahead and
before?
shoot and let's see how it feels.
All right, let's see how it plays
feels
out. How do you spend your time when you're not writing, working, or touring?
I spend my time exercising. I exercise 2 to 3 hours a day.
Oh,
I go to lunch. I do a couple hours of meditation. I hear auditory hallucinations in my head all day, so that takes a lot of my time up too.
do you mind talking about that a little?
Well, I took some drugs since 1965, and ever since I've had voices in my head, auditory hallucinations,
Mhm.
and I can't get them out of my head. So like it's a real handicap for me. You tell me how I spend my day. I spend my day dealing with voices, then I manage to squeeze out a little exercise, and get a little bit to eat and enjoy some tuna or something.
Uh-huh. Those voices, is it like a radio? Is the volume sometimes
No,
very
no, no,
low,
no.
or is
It's
it?
one level. It's one level sound at all. For 42 years now,
Wow.
it's been one sound level.
And they're saying pretty nasty,
Nasty,
negative things.
negative, uncool things. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess one way to counter that is
Yes.
with positive things, like the messages that you put into your song, like the message that is the
Right.
ultimate-
Love messages, and just whatever we can do.
Okay. What makes you the happiest?
Oh boy, I don't know. I would say sex, but that's obvious. Everybody loves sex.
Good answer.
No, but you know what? To tell you the truth, what makes me really happy is to see my wife asleep. Isn't that the weirdest thing?
Now you know why that's weird? Because I can see an upside to it and a downside
Right.
to it.
No, I get off on watching my wife sleep. You know, I just,
Wait a minute, I know why.
Why?
Beautiful dreamer.
she's beautiful, dreaming, beautiful. Oh yes, now I see what you're saying.
See, it all connects here, Brian. It all connects. What are the best conditions for you to create music?
Making music is best when I have had a good night's sleep, and when I get up in the morning, like 6:37 in the morning. It's the morning itself was what inspires me to write music. The beauty of the morning, you know, the sun's just rising, you know, and I have a little breakfast, then I go to my piano and I play. Wouldn't it be nice if we were older and we wouldn't have to wait so long? I get the inspiration for song.
You talk in the documentary about how you started the opening to California Girls. You mind repeating that for us?
Well, please repeat the question.
California Girls. You tell the story in the documentary of how for 45 minutes you played the same.
Oh yeah, for 40. I played that for about 40 minutes.
And then-
About a half hour.
What happened after the 40 minutes?
Well, I added turned into California Girls.
One of the best known and
Records.
most popular Beach Boys songs of all time.
Yes, absolutely.
Did you ever expect that your music would come to represent, in a sense, the lifestyle of that entire state?
Nah, I never ever did think about that.
And that people would get it even if they lived in the Midwest or in Alaska?
I never really gave that much thought. I don't really know what you're meaning.
Well, you know, I thought about it because here I was a kid from the Bronx, and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell do I know about surfing? And the answer was nothing. So as I thought about it, it occurred to me that, yeah, the songs were about surfing, but they were also about freedom.
Right.
They were also about making choices of things to do with your life.
Being able to make a choice and not get too flippy about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in a cool way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that isn't about surfing. That's about something much more that anybody could relate to.
Yeah.
And I think that's the you touch universal chords in
Yeah.
people. Love is. There's three right there.
Yeah.
You know, it is not at all awkward for me to think in terms of mentioning you in the same breath with some of the greatest composers that ever were or will be. I don't want to embarrass you.
Oh, you're not going to. Hey, Pete, shoot, man, shoot. Shoot your shots.
Boy,
Sit up.
You've gotten better at this.
Sit up. Shoot your shots.
All right. The one I was going to mention was Gershwin, and I didn't realize that he was one of the first to touch you.
Well, when I was 2, I used to listen to him.
My
I was
God.
2. I used to listen to George Gershwin at 2.
Were you already aware that you had a talent for music?
No. I didn't know until I was around 10 or 11 years old.
All right. When you got to a keyboard
Yeah.
and you had Gershwin in your
Right,
head,
right.
what are the sounds that came out?
Well, the part that goes. That part there.
Yeah.
I learned that part when I was 32 years old.
Wow. Can you do a little bit more of it? Do you mind?
I don't want to.
Okay,
I'm too sentimental for me.
No, that's perfectly all right. The point that I wanted to make was that.
Oh, we want to hear some Rhapsody in Blue.
No, I'm really too emotional for that. It's too much of an emotional drain.
All right, we'll, how about, let's go in the other direction of a kind of music that I know was influential to you early on, and that's boogie woogie.
You know what? The boogie woogie. You know, like like that boogie woogie.
Yeah, you put some of that stuff on the early Beach Boys
Yeah,
albums.
yeah.
You were drawing from a whole lot of,
Sources.
that you respected. Tell me some of them. Just
Well, you know
don't.
darn well who influenced me the most.
Are you going to watch the trial?
No,
No, me neither.
no. Actually, Phil Spector did turn me on to records, to producing records, and you know, he turned the lights on for me.
Can you play the opening notes of your favorite Phil Spector record, or maybe favorite record?
Sure. I remember that song from way long ago,
Oh, sure.
long time ago.
You surprised me. You know what I thought you were going to play?
Be My Baby, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
know.
still number one for you?
No, actually, to do Run Run's number one.
Oh, how about that? How about that? You know, I recently decided that I was going to get rid of my 45,
Oh, that kind of thing, yeah, okay.
but I wanted to save 40 of them, 40 singles for this
Whoa!
jukebox. Do you have a jukebox?
I used to have a Wurlitzer.
Wurlitzer, yeah.
A
of course.
Wurlitzer. Yeah, I had one of those.
It's always been my dream to have one of those.
And, want an autograph?
Hey, it's a deal. Sparky, what do you call us?
Sharpie.
Sharpie.
I'll give you an interview.
This is
Here,
a first.
We'll do that at the end.
We'll do that at the end.
of thing.
But my point is, I picked 40, and this was number one, numero uno, Good Vibrations.
Was number one?
My number one choice.
Oh, Pete.
I'm telling you true.
You know what? Good Vibrations was a synthetic pop symphony with no rock and roll and no guts. It was absolutely a symphonic kind of thing. It was like a symphonic symphony.
But you're not putting that in a negative category.
No, not negative. I just say that Good Vibration doesn't rock, and it brings back bad memories.
Oh, wow. Well, it is part of the Smile
Yeah, right.
project.
It brings back memories of drugs, and my head was all cluttered up and fogged up, and you know. But that's okay. It's all right to have the memories.
But you know, see if you follow me on this, Brian.
All right.
When an artist, whether it's a poet or a playwright or a novelist, when they put their work out into the world,
Oh.
it's not theirs anymore. It's not theirs anymore. You know, if I say that this is my number one choice for my Wurlitzer jukebox,
Right.
that's as valid as you saying, I'm sorry, that brings up bad memories for me, so I wouldn't.
So what was number two?
Oh, man. That would be, I just flipped through and picked them. Do you believe in magic, Love and Spoonful?
No kidding.
It's definitely.
Was that hype? That hype the list?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because of the line that says,
Believe in the magic of a young girl's heart?
you're right. Believe in the magic of a young girl's soul. Believe in the magic of
Rock and roll. I love that fucking record. Delete that word "fucking," please.
Well, no, we're on the satellite, so for the satellite, it's
I
okay.
absolutely adore that record. Do you believe in magic? I adore that record.
Well, okay. I bet you that we would probably overlap on many of the.
Right. What was number three, if you can remember it?
Many of the 40 choices.
Number
I'm going to
three.
try and think of one where when I saw it, I said, I got to have this. I've got to have this in there. Let me see. Let me try and think of a surprise one that one might not automatically assume would be there. Well, you know what I kept? You might. I don't even know if you remember this. I kept one called Roses and Rainbows by Danny Hutton.
I remember it. I do remember that.
He was he supposed to record Good Vibrations? Is that the story?
What?
Was Danny well, David, you might even know more about this.
Was he
with the
supposed to
story.
what?
Was he supposed to record Good Vibrations? Was that going to
No.
be his single?
No.
That's a myth.
That's a myth. That's not true.
But he did work with you before Three
I worked
Dog
with he and Chuck and Corey on a song called Darlin', and then they left and we pulled back Darlin' and put it another way,
Uh-huh.
put a different thing to it.
But he did some solo things before Three Dog Night.
Roses and Rainbows and You, he did.
Yeah.
I remember that. Roses and Rain. Remember?
Wow.
Hey, great record. That was a good record.
It should have been a hit. It's one of those ones.
It's one of the records you can play any time of the day or night. You
Yeah,
like it.
Yeah, absolutely. 2.5, at their best, singles were 2.5 to 3 minutes of pure magic.
Absolutely.
I love the way you hold my hand.
I loved it. I thought it was fantastic music.
That's great.
I loved it. I thought it was very, 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 very sweet and sensitive music.
Yeah, yeah. And he's one of the witnesses, as they are called, in the Smile documentary, the Beautiful Dreamer
Yeah.
documentary.
Danny was actually in the studio, and we wanted to get as many of the people who were there when the record was being made to talk about both the environment in which it was being created and Brian's studio prowess, because without the witnesses, it's hard to understand the alchemy that was at work.
Completely, and the way the story is woven together, you really feel as if you get the complete picture. David Anderley's recollections mixed in with Van Dyke's certainly make so many salient points about what was going on at the time. Brian, talk to me about Van Dyke for a minute, because there's
Well-
a wonderful moment at the end of the documentary where you bring him on stage, and it's almost like
Moved you to
chills.
tears?
Yeah.
Did
yeah.
you cry?
Very, very, very emotional. I felt myself
Yeah.
getting emotional.
I got a little bit emotional myself when that
I
happened.
could hear it. I could hear it.
And no, he and I we're not real good friends. You know what I mean? But we respect each other's ability.
Mhm.
But we're not really that close friends.
Well, there was that big gap in your working relationship,
Right? Yeah.
too.
Exactly. Yeah.
But wasn't it your notion to have him come back into the Smile?
Oh yeah,
Factory?
because I knew right away that he was the man for the third movement of the Smile thing.
Mhm, mhm.
He was like one of the men of the whole deal.
Yeah, yeah. And again, your acknowledgement of him at the end of the show
Right.
is just chilling.
Yeah, he and I both took a bow. You talk about when we both took a bow? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was like really something.
You almost made yourself sick before that show, didn't you?
I was almost ready to throw up. I was so nervous about that show.
Was your biggest fear that the demons would come back? Was that it?
Yeah, I was afraid of that. Yeah, that they'd come back and the demons would bombard me with things so loud that I wouldn't be able to do my concert.
The voices.
But I forced myself to do it, and the voices backed off a few feet. You know,
Ah!
I forced myself to do it.
There was never a time, Melinda says that there was never a time, she asked you once or twice, you want to cancel? And you said, no, I'm going to do this.
I was given the option, and I didn't take it
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to be a man and face up to things.
Did you feel sort of like the lion tamer who goes into the cage to try and control the
Yes,
beast?
to
Was that part of
handle
it?
the tiger, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, I did feel like that kind of guy.
And not only that, but to beat it, to beat
Well,
it.
to be victorious, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That,
My last name, Wilson, you know. There's the will to live and the will to succeed in my name, so that's my secret.
there you
Nobody
go.
knows that. Nobody really knows.
Fornatale in Italian means Christmas oven.
No kidding.
Go figure.
That is amazing. That's a very fascinating thing.
Do you like Christmas?
Oh, I don't know. I'm never happy at Christmas. Isn't that weird?
No, it's not.
Christmas season is always a depression for me.
No,
I don't know
it's
why that is.
Oh, hey, listen, why do you think, I'll have a blue...
That's how I feel at Christmas. I can't explain why.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I used to be, I don't want to over dramatize this, but on New Year's Day,
Yeah.
I used to feel this tremendous emptiness.
Me too. You mean like the holiday season's
It's-
over?
Right, back on
We
the
all drunk
shelf.
our eggnog and gin and
Right.
got drunk and stuff.
Exactly, all done.
Yeah. Well, Pete, I share that with you.
Uh,
You know, I get that way too.
do you buy gifts for the kids and
We
all
buy.
that?
We go to stores and we buy gifts for kids and our friends, and you know we get as much as we can. We try to get it done in late November, not just before December,
Mhm.
so we don't have to get all get out of my way, get out! Trying to shop in a crowded store,
Ah. Actually, this would be a good time to do Christmas shopping.
Yes.
Avoid the crowd, avoid the rush.
Yes. Yes, Pete.
And listen, you've even infiltrated holiday music. If it's not Christmas for me unless I've heard Little Saint Nick, what, 30, 40 times?
There you go.
Yeah, I always thought you should do one of those animated specials to that
Oh, we could do that.
song.
We
It
could
would be
do
right
something.
there with the Charlie Brown and what's the other one? Rudolph.
Rudolph the Reindeer.
Rudolph the Red-Nosed
Yeah.
Reindeer.
All right, next question.
Next, we're moving right along. Who's your favorite comedian? Who makes you laugh?
Comedian?
Yeah, who makes you laugh?
Who makes me laugh? My wife, David.
Okay, these are
Um,
non-professionals. I'm talking more about somebody.
Like comedians?
Yeah, somebody who does what they call stand-up.
Bill Cosby.
Ah, you like Cosby
Cosby makes me laugh. He's a very funny man.
because he touches.
He,
Because
he gets to my gut. There's something about that guy that makes me laugh, you know.
this also is this has a little sadness attached to it, but I know, like myself, Johnny Carson was a favorite of yours. Yes.
Yes, he was. He was quite the man, quite the stud. Quite the stud.
I felt very badly twice.
When he died, huh?
Yeah, when he died, but also when he left the show.
Yeah, everybody felt that way.
You know, and you wrote a tribute to him
Yes, we
back
did.
then. Do you remember why you did that song?
Me on the Beach Boys Love You album?
Yeah, that.
Well, how did I go? I don't even remember how it
He
goes.
sits behind his microphone.
Let's see, man. He sits behind his microphone. And he goes,
Yeah.
Johnny Carson, he's a real live wire, or something like that. Yeah, that was cute. That was a cute.
Do you know if he ever heard it? Did he ever have any response?
I
to
never
it?
found out.
Okay, fair enough. What's your favorite movie of all time?
My favorite movie? Gosh, I don't know. Let me think about that. 13 Days, probably, was one of my favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You see it?
A while ago.
Yeah, you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Is that one of your favorites?
I wouldn't have come up with that for one of my favorites. I'm more in the.
13, well, Bobby Kennedy was played by, what a wonderful performance for Bobby Kennedy. Yeah, it was really wonderful.
Now that's very funny because that event happened in '62.
Right.
The Beach Boys were probably
Just starting out.
on that
It was a
rocket
Cuban
ship.
Missile Crisis. Yeah, right.
You wrote a song on the night JFK was killed.
Yeah. Yeah, Warmth of the Sun.
Yeah, and even though no one would necessarily know from the lyrics that it was about
Yes.
that or it was written then, but the feeling, that's the thing you do is you capture these emotions
Right.
in music, and you certainly did that with Warmth
Yes,
of the
yes,
Sun.
I did.
Okay. What about? Do you go to the movies? Do you go out to a theater, or do you rent things?
You know
from
what? We don't.
Blockbuster?
We rent movies. We
Okay.
don't go to theaters.
What are your last 2 or 3 rentals?
Well, we bought, not Cabaret, what's it called? That movie where the guy goes to heaven and he goes back down to the,
Heaven Can Wait with Warren Beatty.
no, it was, Carousel. Is there a movie called Carousel?
That was a Broadway show originally. Is that the one with the soliloquy in it, where the guy's he's thinking about having a baby?
No, that's not it at all, not Carousel.
What could it be? There's a lot of those movies with, not Sixth Sense or something.
Anyway, forget it, we can't
Ah.
remember, can't remember.
Something else that you do remember renting and liking at home?
And renting and liking?
Yeah. Is it a cartoon? Is it a comedy?
I liked the movie Ray,
Oh.
the story of Ray Charles.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was a good.
What'd you like about it?
I just liked the way the guy sang, acted like Ray. He really, really got across a vibe, about Ray.
Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself here, but did you ever have any collaborations with Ray
With
Charles?
Ray, he played with me one time in 1986 in Honolulu. He played Sailor on Sailor, and he was one of the acts on the show.
Mhm.
The show called The Spirit of Rock and Roll.
Right, right. because of your position, Brian, there are a lot of people that want to meet you. There are probably also people that you want to meet and work with.
You know, I wanted to meet Frankie Avalon. Never got to meet him. Never
Really?
did. Yeah, I wanted to. I really did. And then I also wanted to meet Chuck Berry, and I never got to meet him either.
Oh, man, although he shares a credit on
He's
one
got to
of-
be in his 80s by now, right?
Close to, not quite. His longtime collaborator, Johnny Johnson, who passed away recently, was 80, and he was slightly older than Chuck, so Chuck's somewhere.
About 78, 79, around there.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Anyway, I never met him, and I wished I could have.
Okay. Is there a television show that you try never to miss?
Yeah, Wheel of Fortune, believe it or not. I love that show.
Is it Vanna White or is it the?
No, you're way ahead of me, aren't you? You're way ahead of me.
Well, I asked you what made you happiest, and
You enjoy looking at Vanna White's legs when she walks into the thing?
nobody turns those letters. Like
You know,
Vanna White.
I don't know, Wheel of Fortune, yeah, but you know what? I think Bachelor, The Bachelor is a pretty good TV show.
Oh.
All about girls choosing guys and
Right,
guys choosing
right.
girls and stuff.
Well, it's funny. Do you remember the old show? What was it? Dating Game.
Right.
Or any of that stuff. It's amazing some of the people who.
Yeah, I used to like
You're
that
not-
show. I used to like that.
I think it still runs on some rerun somewhere.
Now, there's still a trace of it happening, right?
Let's see. What celebrity living in the world today would you really be excited to meet? It doesn't have to be music. Could be from any walk of life.
I can't answer that question.
Okay.
I can't.
The night you were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Right.
I got to meet Muhammad Ali,
You did?
who was sitting at the Beach Boys table.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah.
What did he do? Did he hit you? Did he box you? Did he put his boxing gloves on and box you? Did he box you?
David, you see him day to day to day to day to day. Would you say that Brian is relaxed and in a good mood today?
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that we're really thrilled about with the documentary and the whole DVD package is for people to get to see Brian the way he really is, because television has not been friendly to him,
Mm-hmm.
and I think with this film, we found a way to show people what an interesting, articulate, informed, aware, the sense of history he has, everything that you wondered about Brian Wilson based on public image
Right.
in the film and on the DVD. I think you finally get to see him as those of us who are lucky enough to call him a friend get to see him when there aren't cameras around, when there aren't a lot of people around, that he's a fun guy, he's a smart guy.
That sense of humor that we've seen a number of times.
There is some sense of humor involved, yes.
There has to be too, doesn't there?
Without it,
Yeah.
I think we would be sunk.
Okay. Here's a question that I asked Jimmy Webb when he was a guest
All
on
right.
the show. Jimmy's also in the documentary.
Yeah.
I asked him which composers or songwriters from the previous generation that he admired the most, from his own generation that he admired the most, and from the younger, next generation. I'll address the same thing to you. Let's take them one at a time. From the previous generation, what composers do you admire the most?
Does that mean the 60s or does it mean 50s?
Could be. You could be. I mean, we already covered Gershwin, which would be even further
Right,
back
but
than
okay,
that.
we're up to the 60s now.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I would have to say Bob Crewe because of Palisades Park. I thought that was a brilliant record. Phil Spector because of his records, and of course Motown for some of the wonderful records that he made. And
Less producers and more songwriters, like Burt Bacharach or...
Burt Bacharach for sure. Bacharach, Beatles,
Lennon McCartney.
the Rolling Stones, of course, and the Bee Gees, and my own group, the Beach Boys. I think
There was
Okay.
there was a songwriter we saw last night who you were pretty excited to see.
we ran into Barry Maniss of the Wild and Carole King last night.
Hey,
We ran into
fantastic.
him. We walked by this place, this building where they used to work in the 60s.
The Brill Building?
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then and about 10 minutes later, we ran into him like we couldn't believe it.
That is very
So we walked over there. We go, let's go over there and sing a little bit of "You've Lost That Love and Feeling" for Barry and Cynthia. So David and me and Ray and Jerry went over. You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lip. Barry Maniss started clapping. You know, he started clapping away, man. He loved it. He loved it. He loved it.
That's great.
He
Yeah,
loved it.
That's the most played song on radio of
Yeah,
all
it's
time.
the biggest played song, a BMI song of all time.
It's in my jukebox.
Mine too. It was on mine too.
See, I told you we'd have a lot. I told
Pete.
you.
Shit.
uh,
Okay, shoot, fire away, shoot.
all right, we're going to keep going. We are going to keep going. You have received many honors in your career.
Yeah.
Which ones mean the most to you?
Being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was one of them.
Mhm.
Playing for people in Washington D.C. at the Washington Monument, 750,000 people. That was a big moment.
Fourth of July shows?
Yeah, Fourth of July. And I guess recording California Girls. That'll sum it up.
Well, the tribute at Radio City
Right, right.
a few years back, as David mentioned earlier, it would be hard to beat the lineup of people
Yes,
who came out to honor you that night.
yes.
In fact, I didn't know this until I saw the documentary, but that was the first night that you had performed one of the songs from Smile that
Which one was that?
a key to getting this whole project off the ground.
What was that?
Heroes and Villains.
Yeah, the Heroes and Villains was really a great song.
Is there any of that instrumentally that you can do?
No, actually not.
Okay, that's fine. We want you to be comfortable more than anything else.
All right.
Okay, I asked you what a typical day is like in the life of Brian Wilson. Your life these days is your. We touched on this earlier. Is your struggle with those demons a daily struggle?
Yes. Yeah, it's daily.
Okay,
Yeah. Even as we're talking now, there's some stuff going on at the same time.
interesting.
Yeah. It's been an adventure. You know, in self-control and being cool.
Yeah, and I suspect it is going to continue
I hope so.
to be an adventure. Someone listening to us right now who's dealing with their own personal torture and thinking that they're the only ones in the world with those problems.
Right.
What counsel, what advice would you offer?
Well, my advice would be if you hear auditory hallucinations and you have a lot of mental troubles and you feel like you have an insanity problem, my advice is to look up a psychiatrist, talk to the psychiatrist, and tell him what kind of medication would be appropriate for the condition they're in. And that's what my advice would be. Yeah.
Okay. That's on the personal health level. What about someone listening to us right now who wants to devote his or her life to music, maybe even wants to be the next Brian Wilson? What advice would you give them?
I would say good luck. I don't want to go into it. I would say good luck in trying to make it these days, but have fun trying. Yeah.
Do you think the business is more difficult now than when
Oh,
you were
much
starting
more.
out?
The business is in a very embarrassingly low place.
Yeah, I agree with you,
Yeah.
obviously.
It's embarrassing, but they don't have to get embarrassed about it. But it is embarrassing.
Yeah. A lot of pop music is disposable.
Right.
It comes and it
And
goes.
goes.
It has long been my feeling, I'm not the only one, that 100 years from now, people will still be listening to Brian Wilson's songs.
And the Beach Boys.
Music.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? What is the Brian Wilson legacy?
Well, Bach. Bach was an innovator, and my group was an innovator for group sound, harmonies. So I'm most proud of the harmonies.
What do you miss most about Carl and Dennis?
I miss the friendship, the cocaine days with Dennis and I used to snort cocaine. I miss those days. I really do.
Brian, that's what partially got you into some trouble, though.
I know, but I wished I could have kept doing it. But I got put into a doctor's program, and they took me off alcohol, cigarettes, and drugs all in one time.
Mm-hmm.
It was the toughest thing I ever had to go through. Toughest thing, just kicking cigarettes, alcohol, and cocaine all in one sweep.
You mentioned earlier that you still meditate. Is it the transcendental?
No. I don't meditate with a transcendental anymore. I can't do that. I try to do it, but I can't.
So what do you
Well,
do?
I go like I close close my eyes and I go, come on, come on, come on, get it on, get it on, get it up, get it, like that to myself, you know. Come on, let's go, let's do it, we can do it. I know I can do it, I know, you know.
Before a show.
Yeah, yeah,
or
mostly
something.
before.
Something like that. Do you pray?
Yeah, sure.
Do you pray in your mind or out loud?
I pray inside my head in bed at night. I pray mostly when I'm in bed.
Would you share any?
Yeah, I say prayers for my wife and my kids and my friends, and I ask God that He'll be good to my people I know. And then I go to sleep, get up the next day, forget all about my prayers till that next night.
And start all over again?
Yeah.
You know, your music, of course, has been described by many as spiritual.
Spiritual is not the word. Way spiritual.
Yeah.
Very spiritual.
Yeah. I was listening to the Pet Sounds boxed set, just the vocal tracks.
Oh yeah.
And heard Carl,
Oh.
Carl's lead vocal on God Only Knows. That could make you cry.
Yeah, that was a
And of course, it happens on the Smile Project too,
Yeah.
with Our Prayer. We're certainly not going to ask you to recreate that here, but
I'm
That-
sure there's someone that goes like. That one?
that one.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be at Carnegie Hall.
When we did
Carnegie
that?
Hall. What did Carnegie Hall?
Carnegie
mean to
Hall,
you?
the great Carnegie Hall. That was a thrill. It was a very big thrill for me to sit there in Carnegie where George Gershwin was like about 20, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, or even more than that.
Yeah.
60, 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Same stage as George Gershwin. I was blown out. I was very, very proud.
Do you know the joke about Carnegie Hall?
No.
Man's on the street in New York, and he asks another guy, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall?"
Yeah.
And the guy says, "Practice."
That's a great saying. That's really cool.
Isn't that
That is very, very funny.
That's one of the oldest jokes in humanity, but if you're hearing it for the first time, it's
Right
still
then,
great.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Aren't you embarrassed?
No, no, absolutely not.
I wish people good luck making it to Carnegie Hall. Let's put it that way.
And then one last reference, and David, again, I address this to you or make it a statement to you as well as Brian. There is a built-in drama in the film, in the documentary, because you didn't know if this thing was going to fall on its ass or its face or not. And right up to that moment where the band is on stage and Brian walks out and Our Prayer begins, you're not really sure what's going to happen. And when you guys finish Our Prayer and that audience goes berserk, that must have been the moment for you, Brian, where you said, "I did the right thing."
Yeah.
I'm glad you did it.
Oh, me too.
I once told Bruce Springsteen that he was the bravest man in rock and roll when he put out his Nebraska album and Tom Joad album.
Right.
But I think you're right up there with Bruce as one of the bravest.
Well, he's a rock star. I'm a pop star.
I see.
I'm not a rock star. I'm a pop star.
Well, and he's a working class hero. You're a genius. I mean, there's.
Well, so are you.
You're too kind. You're too kind, David.
You know, the drama of 2003, 2004, there was nothing artificial about it. We lived it every day.
Yeah.
Our cameras were rolling every day. And we really didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if Brian was going to walk up the steps to the stage.
Right.
I mean, it was a real drama.
And you don't whitewash it because there are moments in the film, like the first day of the vocal rehearsals, where Brian, you might as well have been on Mars. You looked a little scared, a little bored, a little angry, a little disinterested. And if you're a viewer, you're saying, "Oh my God." I already know the ending, and I'm saying, "Oh my God, is he going to do it?"
Well, you know what? You know what he did? He wound up doing it.
He did,
wound up
didn't
doing
he?
it. Yeah, he had the courage to go through with it.
He's an amazing guy, don't
He
you
had the
think?
courage to go through with that whole trip. Yeah.
David, how do people add this to their DVD collection? What's the best way to stay in touch
With Brian Wilson?
with this project and what you're doing?
Brian Wilson Presents Smile is available, as they used to say, at fine record stores everywhere. In the 21st century, I'm sure Amazon.com and all the online distributors have it, BrianWilson.com. You've got, you know, Best Buy, Costco, all the places where you would expect to see DVDs, Tower and Virgin Megastore. Oh, Rhino.com. We don't want to
Ah.
forget Rhino.com because Rhino is the company that put this all together and put it out.
Terrific. As I said, I can't be objective about it, but I advise everyone listening to this show, whenever and wherever they're listening, to go out and get one for their collections.
Pete, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Brian, you end your concerts with Love and Mercy.
Right.
Why do you do that?
Well, we try to take people down off of rock and roll. Like it would be going. We try to make the show come to an end.
Would you make this show come to an end and play that for us?
I was sitting in a crummy room with my hands on my chin. The violence that I feel seemed like we never will. Love and mercy, that's what you need tonight. Love and mercy tonight. Yeah. Thank you.
Love you, my friend. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. We're going to put you to work now. We're going to make you sign some DVDs. Is that okay?
Oh, you can go ahead and do that.
All right. Okay.
I never ever resist.
Good job, sir. Excellent.
Wow.
he was just coming by to say hello.
All right.
He and Peter are old friends too. Wait till they're ready to visit Senor Wilson.
Can I practice?
Sure.
I've been in the town so long, I'm back in the city. I've been taking 4 Yeah, I get that. Okay. And I want to do,
One more from Smile, Brian.
no,
Surf's up.
no. Wind chimes.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna just do a little bit of each. That's all.
Fell in love years ago with an innocent girl, did you?
Yeah. With all those wonderful lyrics. And I think the best lyrics you've ever heard.
They're right up there at the top. I mean, right around that same time when Dylan was writing like a Rolling Stone, you and
Right.
him were working together.
Right.
Oh, columnated ruins, Domino.
I remember that. I remember that from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Pete, the reason I was sitting here is if you're sitting in your spot, then we can match if you want to cut it.
Sure, that's very cool.
When am I ready to go here?
We're set. Thank you very much.
1, 2. 1, 2, 3. I've been in this town so long, I'm back in the city. I've been taken for a lost and gone, and I'm known for a long, long time. Fell in love years ago with an innocent girl from the Spanish and Indian home of the heroes and villains. Once a night, continued square the fight, and she was riding in the rain on the boat, and I bet she would have but she's still dancing in the night, unafraid of what a doodle do in a town full of heroes and villains. Heroes and villains, just see what you've done. Heroes and villains, just see what you've done. Heroes and villains, thank you very much.
It's a beautiful thing. Linda, do you have your?
I'm gonna do one more.
Oh, great. I'm gonna sit back.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hanging down from my window, those are my wind chimes. In the late afternoon, you're all up on the wind chime. Though it's hard, I try not to look at my wind chime. The tears on my cheek. That's it. Hooray to Pete Fornicello for
Yay!
being a groovy guy.
Oh my God.
Hooray to you for being a good guy.
37 years ago.
Oh, hey, I can't look at that
Oh,
smile.
you don't want to do that one?
No,
You don't want to do
not
that
that
one?
one, no.
Why don't we make the new one?
You know
Just
what?
you
I
and
could use that.
Just
I
you
could
and
use that for my Playboy pictures. I'll use your smile
to hide
against a chick. Yeah.
to hide it.
Yeah.
You're still hiding them under. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's Joey.
Are we shooting?
Yes,
We're gonna try this.
everybody.
Are you smiling, Brian? I can't see.
No, I'm not. I'm
Oh,
just, I was like,
well,
my eyes are
Do you want me to
like.
tickle him?
Should I?
No, I'm not ticklish. I'm not ticklish at all.
Gibson sign on?
Oh,
Please, please.
signage, of course.
Gibson
This
Imperial.
is
Hey, I remember you, I haven't talked to you at length in 30 years.
Oh, no. We did,
We did an interview, I remember the interview we did,
Right.
but we haven't really spoken.
That's,
in-
today
in-
was the
Yes,
best.
it was the best.
Today was the best. Today was a good day, all the way around, any way you.
Twist it,
Did you
anyway you
get
twist
some
it, it's
sign?
cool.
And You know, and I, you know, I know them all, obviously, like the back of my
Yes,
hand.
yes.
And I could rate them. I could say, well, Brian was a little tired this day or a little distracted.
Right.
This one was a 10, Brian.
Out of 10?
This is 10 out of 10.
You know what? I always say 12 out of 10. This is
12 out of 10. Thank you.
All right, it's Pete.
We'll see, I'll see you at the screening.
Okay, see you then.
David
Bye-bye.
Riddick.
Thank you.
Oh.
Hey, Jim, what's going on? How'd you find your